And can we just talk about this colour as well? Well, colours, and the colour shift is so pretty and the sparkle. But I have one left. Just a little bit. So this is the only yarn I have left. Hello there everyone. So I thought I would start a new video of basically following me in the process of making my next crochet wearable. So it's a scarf, hooded scarf type thing. It's still a wearable, it's not clothes, but it's a wearable. So it counts to me. So I have been spending a bit of time on going through ideas and projects in my head, getting it down on paper, and there will be a previous video of me doing that, so you can check it out if you want to. And that includes sketches and thoughts and ideas, and I used Millenote for that. Definitely glad I did that. And I have narrowed it down because I finished my previous project, which was my first crochet wearable, which was a top. I need to start my next crochet wearable, which is a scarf hood. But I'm also thinking, because this top that I made last took so long to do, partly because it was my very first one, but also there was just a lot of like doing, undoing, redoing, blah blah blah. So I kind of feel like maybe the scarf one is a good next one to do. So I like to think it'll be done quicker, it'll be quicker to make, and also it'll be working with a different kind of yarn than I did before. So obviously I've been doing other stuff, don't get me wrong, but I have been working on that stuff for a very long time, and I would really like to mix it up a bit, use a different kind of yarn. And also I've had this yarn for so long, I've been really wanting to try and use it, see what it's like to work with and how it comes out. So combine the two, and I'm going to do that next. So it's this yarn I'm going to be using. It is Universe XL from Hobby, and this colorway, I think they just do numbers, color 05. Yeah, I do have, I'm not gonna lie, I was very unsure of what color to choose because I do have this specific yarn in a few colorways. So these, and I really love all of them, obviously because I have them, otherwise I wouldn't have got them. My very initial thought and what I keep being drawn to is this one. This was a limited edition from Halloween, and I have a few of them, and I really love that colorway. But I also am unsure about using it for the first time I'm doing the scarf, because I can always make it again if I want to. But because it was limited edition, I don't want to say use up all of it or most of it or some of it and maybe not be able to get a hold of it again. But then I wanted to use it for something else in the future, and then I can't because I don't have enough. So for now, I'm just going to not do that, and it's the same principle with that. Also very beautiful. That was also a limited Halloween one, which they might come back again, but in case they don't. So I'm just going to leave them for now. Then oh, this was actually Halloween as well. Well, they do have purple ones normally, but I guess this specific one was Halloween. So beautiful. And I love the sparkle in each of them, but it's also different, so it matches the colors of the yarn. So yeah, I kind of ruled them out for those reasons. Then I ended up being left with these, which are both in their normal range, and I was kind of drawn to this because it's so bright and colorful, and I love color. But then I guess I've ended up with this partly because I see it a little bit as like a winter, fall, a little bit spring type thing, even though this is a bit more spring, and I feel like this colorway kind of fits that better, I guess. Not that I kind of really think that's a thing, but anyway, I just ended up settling on this colorway. But yeah, what I do like as well, it's really nice and soft, all of them. Obviously it's the same yarn, so obviously because it's going to be a scarf and a hood, you do want it to be soft, so that does fulfill that criteria. It doesn't feel scratchy. Obviously there's that kind of sparkle or tinsel in there, so that will be a little scratchy, but I'm hoping it'll still be nice to wear. It'll usually be on top of clothes / hair anyway, so I'm hoping it'll still be fine. But yeah, it says it is 98% acrylic and 2% polyester, but it's nice and soft and also pretty light, which obviously you don't want, whatever you make, you ideally don't want it to be too heavy when you're wearing it. So I think this is what I've ended up deciding on, because it's not like I can't make the scarf again in other colorways, so I'm just gonna start with this. And I just need to get on with something now. I can't keep thinking about it, I need to start doing it. So I have the pattern, and I also printed it off because I do prefer working with patterns like that. For some reason I just prefer having it physically. You can also then draw or make notes on them, even though most of it don't. But anyway, you can always do that digitally as well. I just find it easier and more tactile with physical paper. Anyway, so I have the pattern here, and I was concerned about the yarn as well because I got so set on wanting to use this yarn, whatever colorway, for this hood when I first saw it, or scarf, well, hooded scarf. But then I started thinking, I don't know if it's the right kind of yarn, because I think the yarn she uses is a bit thicker. But I'm pretty sure I saw, when I kind of looked through the pattern, that she actually talks about using a thinner yarn, like more DK thickness, which this is definitely more like DK thickness than what it looks like she uses, and about basically what to do if you want to use that kind of yarn. So I take that as it should be fine. I'm pretty sure I'd be able to figure it out anyway, but with it being the first time making this pattern, I'd rather kind of be safe than sorry. So I have the pattern ready, I have the yarn ready, I've decided what yarn I'm using, and I've got to figure out what hook actually, don't I? I didn't think of that. The yarn says, wow, 6mm. Seems big for this. It's definitely closer to a DK weight. I might grab a couple of different sizes of hooks and do a little test of how it kind of comes out, because obviously you do want it to be on the looser side of stitches, not too tight, because you want it to have like a nice flow, fall, whatever you want to call it. So you do want it to be on the looser side, but I also don't like things being too loose and too holdy and gappy. I like it being a little bit more like a proper fabric, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think I need to grab a couple of different size hooks and do a little bit of testing and see what I prefer, and I'll take you along for the ride, hoping this won't take too long to make. Obviously there's still a lot to it, and it's like a big scarf slash hood thing, hooded scarf, but I like to think it shouldn't be like making a top or something like that. And I'm pretty sure once you just get going row after row after row, and you can kind of just get on like an autopilot thing. So although I do that with most, except for amigurumi. Anyway, I just need to get started. I'm gonna grab my yarn. I have no idea how much I'm going to need. Thankfully I do have a few of them, and because this is a normal colorway, not a limited edition, in case I do run out I could get more, which I'd like to think I should need to, but just in case. So this is where I keep that yarn, and I obviously don't need all of these, hopefully at all, but also straight away, but I think I'm just going to grab an extra one, obviously. Just come up and grab more if I need to, slash I'm pretty sure I will. But I'm not going to use these in a couple of hours, it's going to take a little while, so I start with 2 of these, I think. And then I have the pattern, and then my hooks are downstairs, and I guess that's it. Gotta go get the hooks, and then I'll crack on, do a little testing. Right, so I'm downstairs and I rummaged around the cupboard for some of my hooks. I was missing one hook that I was particularly looking for, but anyway, I have what I have. So the yarn is saying a 6mm, which I feel like is too big. But what I've then got out is a 6mm, so I thought I'd try it. 5.5, I was particularly looking for a 5mm. I know I have it and I've used it, but I can't find it right now, so I have a 5.5 and then I have a 4mm. So that's kind of the ones I'm thinking between them. So I'm just going to kind of play around with them a little bit and see how it ends up. There is also, well, there's like a swatch gauge thing on here, which I guess is not really relevant because obviously I'm using it for this pattern. I think I'm just going to like do a little bit of crochet with each of the sizes and see how I like the result, because I don't want it to be too holey and gappy. That's like the main thing, but obviously also not too tight. So I'm just going to see which hook I'm going to use. Swatches with 3 different size hooks, and I'll be honest, the 6mm, I don't dislike it as much as I thought I would. So this is what that looks like. It's definitely more holey and gappy than my personal preference is. So like I said, I don't actually dislike it that much as I thought I would, but I still am also not completely sold. So that is the 6mm. Then it was 5.5mm. It's obviously very close to 6mm. So these two are actually also pretty much the same size. Obviously I did the same amount of stitches, but they are so close in size anyway, so I think the 5mm would have been better to kind of try. But it's kind of the same result. I don't really dislike it as much as I thought I would, but still not completely sold. Now then it is 4mm, and can we just talk about this colour as well? Well, colours, and the colour shift is so pretty, and the sparkle, I love that. Anyway, this is definitely more my taste. Far less gappy. Obviously as you pull it, it still gets gappy, but I don't know, I just feel like it feels nicer, it looks nicer. Obviously it's a little less flowy than these, but it's still flowy because naturally this yarn is soft and kind of has that flowiness to it. So yeah, honestly, I'm leaning towards the 4 mil. Now obviously the 4 mil, the size does get different as well, also because it is tighter. So let's see, there is a little bit smaller, so obviously that will also affect the size. But I was already counting on having to kind of adjust for the size of the yarn. So basically make a bit more, like more rows or something. But if you actually look at the pictures in here, so close-up pictures of some of the steps, it does very much look like this kind of yarn. I just feel like it's got to be a little bit thicker than this that I'm using though. But anyway, I'm sure it'll work out. So I think I'm going to go with the 4 mil hook, just because it's a little bit more my preference. I feel like it gets a little bit neater. So yep, I guess I've decided. So I'm going to undo this again and then start the actual pattern. So I have also read it a little bit ahead. So it seems like she uses chain 2 for when starting a row of double crochets. I'm gonna just do standing single crochet. That's my personal preference. Oh, I just realized she does actually say what yarn she used. Anyway, I don't have that specific yarn. What was I saying? Yeah, just a couple of things I know already I'm going to do differently is I'm going to see about do standing single crochet, just start off a row instead of chaining 2, and also she starts out with, oh she changed 3, sorry, at the beginning of each row, not 2, and starts out with a chain 4 to basically make a ring or circle to crochet into, and you make it like a triangle shape, and I think I'm going to do a magic ring instead of a chain 3, 4. So, but those are just kind of preference things. So, otherwise, I'm going to see about getting on with the pattern.
A few inches later.
So, I've gotten a little bit further now, and we have a bigger triangle, and we've started with some of the design features. So, this is what it looks like now. I'm really liking the color variation here, and I love that sparkle in it. I'm really pleased that it's like a blue sparkle instead of just like a plain silver or even gold. I think that's really cool that the different colorways in this yarn, they have different color sparkle. Really like that. And we are approaching using the purple, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, I really like the way this looks. So there's some texture in here. Obviously you have some chain spaces, and then we also have where we do front and back loop stitching, which adds this texture as well, and there's always going to be more of that throughout. So I think this is looking good so far, and I'm really pleased that I chose the 4mm hook. I think that was the right choice. I really like how this is looking and feeling. So it feels a bit more substantial, but it's still got loads of movement in it. So I'm pleased with that. So now it's just a matter of growing this.
He sounds genuinely worried for his sister.
Can I have a high five?
She's the only family he has left. His own life 3 years ago.
Good boy.
In reality, Ryan, the decisions his sister made in the aftermath are the very reason she's now
High five?
to Maryland slowly begins
Princess.
to unravel when her best friend.
It's okay. Let your sister. High five? Oh, good boy. That was a good one. Another high five? Nice. Oi, that's my finger.
After noticing, tries to reassure her, he can sense it too.
Oh, good boy.
So the Barnhill radios for additional units to respond to fight Maryland's life.
Good boy. Can I have one more high five? Yes. Kiss. Oh, that was a good kiss. Thank you.
The next day.
Right, so the progress so far I'm pretty pleased with. It looks something like this. Let me just show you. So this is where we're at now. I really love this colorway. It's nice. There's only one color in this that I'm not crazy about, and it's kind of right around here. It's kind of pukey brown, green diarrhea brown. I'm not too crazy about, but otherwise I do really like this colorway. It's very beautiful. It is giving me the feel of like a starry night, even though it isn't really, but I think it's a sparkle that adds to that as well. But yes, it's very lovely, and I really like the drape on this and the movement. And I think the hook that I decided to use was really good. So the 4mm, I have it right here. I think that was a good choice because yes, it's a bit tighter, but it's still nice and drapey, which I think is just down to the yarn itself. But it's kind of given the effect and feel that I personally prefer, where it's a bit of a tighter fabric you make, but obviously because of this yarn it still has that drape to it, and then it's very pretty. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how this is going. I think I'm pretty much at the size that I need this to be because this is just part of it. I'm currently working on the netting row there, and I've literally just run out of my first skein. So also this is how much one skein of that yarn makes. Actually a fair bit, because I think they are, oh no, they are 100 grams. I thought they were 50, but they are 100 grams. But even so, it's pretty good. I have a few of them, so I'm pretty sure I should have enough for at least this. But I also think it's a pretty good choice that I started with this colorway, because like I said, I can always make it in other colorways. But what's also happened while I've been working on this is, first of all, I'm really enjoying using this yarn as well. So both how it's coming out, but also actually the process of using it. But I've really gotten into the idea of using this yarn, but make like a lightweight cardigan of some sort. That's kind of just popped in my head, that idea, while I was making this. I just think the drape and the feel, and then the look of it, obviously the different colorways you can get it in, this has really got me a little bit hooked on that idea. So that might be a project I'm gonna bank and keep for the near future. So yeah, obviously for that I do need to make sure that I have enough, because that would take substantially more, because it's a whole piece of clothing as opposed to just like a scarf hood thing. But obviously I then can't not think about using that purple green colorway, but then I don't know if I would have enough of what I have, blah blah blah. Anyway, I shouldn't be worrying about that now, because I'm doing this and then I'll be doing other projects anyway. But it's just an idea that popped in my head that I'm kind of quite excited about. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to add that to my Milanote project assortment that I can kind of refer back to and have a look at when I need to. So that's where we're at. I'm pretty happy with it. And it looks like little princess is also pretty intrigued. Hey cutie. What's this? Ooh, sparkle. Get it, girl. It's getting away. Oh no. Don't let it get away, baby. Always so helpful when I got the yarn out, aren't you, baby? Oh yes. You do you, girl. You show it who's boss. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention, I also brought down a new project bag for this specific one, and it looked like this. Super cute. A little hedgehog. So I'm going to be using that, because otherwise I just had it loose so far, which, since discovering project bags, I really like them. So I'm definitely going to keep using that, and I have a few now thanks to my mother. She sent me a few, and I brought down a couple more, actually one more. I already had 2 of the balls. Obviously I've used one now, but then I brought down an extra one. I don't know, in my head I have a feeling it's going to be about 3 I'm going to use. Might be wrong, but we'll see. On saying that, there's also, if I'm going to add the tassel, which I think I do want to add the tassels. That's going to obviously use up a fair bit as well. But anyway, obviously I'm not going to use it all in the space of a couple hours right now. It's going to take a little while to get through, but for now I've just brought down so I have 3, and we'll see how we go. And then keeping it all in my handy little project bag so we can stay nice and organized. Oh yeah, also I forgot, I found my final hook by coincidence, because it was in the last project I basically just finished before starting this one, so anyway, it's fine. I'm happy with the formula anyway.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So it's a couple of days later. I've been working on it the past few evenings, basically just growing the triangle bigger, and I have just finished the second skein. So that's the end, so I'm ready to attach my third one. And I have kind of realized something a little bit. I think in the beginning I said, with how this was going, that I was maybe going to end up using 3-ish. Yeah, scratch that. It's going to be more than that. For some reason in my head, that's a little bit ahead with the pattern as well. It's a good pattern. It's just there was 1 or 2 things that I felt maybe could just be improved a little bit. Because obviously it has different sizes in there, so if you want to do it for a young person, a baby even, I think, or child, adult, blah blah blah, different sizes. But after the instructions, it tells you how many rows to do for whichever size you're going for, which is great, but it doesn't directly there tell you, like, say, the measurements, which I think would have been really handy. Now I did end up finding the measurements later, well, somewhere else in the pattern. I don't remember where it was, but it was somewhere, which it was fine that it was there. I just feel like it also should have been after, kind of right after where the main instructions end, so you kind of could have a more of a straight idea there, like, okay, well, when do I need to stop, instead of just the row count, also have the measurements. And I also feel like with the measurements, what was missing was more instructions on the measurements themselves, because it kind of, on one of the measurements say corner to corner, which I am assuming corner to corner means corner to corner here, so the long length on the triangle here, so before the hood and that. That's my assumption, but I do feel that it should be made just a bit more obvious, maybe like with an image of, say, the shape here, the triangle, and then point out on that image or drawing, whatever, graphic, what measurement we're talking about, because it does also then say the height of the hood, which that makes sense. Obviously I haven't got there yet, but corner to corner for the triangle means this measurement. I just feel like it was spelled out a little bit better, just to be completely sure, because initially what I was doing, because I felt like there wasn't the measurement anywhere before I then found it, because it wasn't where I expected it to be. I was kind of just thinking, well, I think I just need to keep going until the corners meet when I bring it around the back. And I was pretty much there, and then I thought, well, I'm almost done. That's when I pretty much had used one-ish, I think, skein of yarn. But then eventually I found the measurement somewhere else. I was like, oh hell no, if I'm understanding it correctly, I'm way off. There's still loads to go. I did think it seemed a little bit small for what I was expecting, as in the look of it compared to, say, the image and stuff. It seemed a lot more slouchy and oversized-ish in the image and stuff. So I did think that it seemed a little bit small, but I thought, what do I know? It's also hard to like imagine it when you're making it and it's not finished and you're trying to put it against yourself and stuff. So if I'm understanding it correctly, where I was on that point in the triangle, there was still a lot more to go, and I still have more to go now. This is just me having finished the second skein. So actually, measure it now, if I remember right. I think measurement for what I'm looking for is about 36 inches, if I'm understanding it correctly. And actually at about, okay, 35-ish. It will be 36 if I stretch it, but I obviously don't want to like stretch it. I also don't want to make it too big though. Also, according to the pattern, you finish after the netting row there, which is the one I made just before the one I just started. So the question is a little bit, do I kind of keep going till I reach the 36 inches more exactly? But then if I want to finish after that same row, I have to make another whole set of rows, which means another 4 rows. Or do I basically maybe want to undo the one I just started and then stop at the previous one? I'm actually almost thinking that's what I should do. The whole point is that this is like the front part of the scarf part, I guess, then goes around and connects, and then you build the hood part onto this. Definitely I'm getting more the slouchy feel to it now than at the beginning when I had the smaller triangle. So that makes more sense. And also I was worried thinking it was going to be too tight around here, and I was like, what if it gets too tight so it barely kind of fit around my head? But actually looking at this and feeling it, maybe I should undo the row that I just started here and then have that previous row be the last one. I have literally only just started the row right there, and that's where I then ran out of the second ball of yarn. So that would mean that basically 2 balls of yarn has made the scarf part of it. Then the question would be how much obviously is needed for the hood part. I do think I'm going to use a fair bit for that, because you have to make like kind of a long tube. The question is just how long you're going to make it. So it's a bit hard to think how much yarn is going to be used for that. Another 1, I think it's going to definitely be more than 1 ball, but another 2, more than that. Who knows? I'm definitely glad I didn't pick one of the other colours, because I do have this yarn in a colour that I didn't actually consider. It's a purple one. The reason for that is, honestly, it's beautiful and I would have loved to use it, but I think I only have 2 of them and I wasn't sure if that would be enough. And I'm glad I didn't use it, because I know it wasn't going to be enough now, because this is what 2 gave me, which is lovely, but obviously I'm missing the hood part. So, but I'm really liking this. I really like the way it feels. It's nice and flowy and slouchy and stuff. Even though I'm using a smaller hook than kind of was recommended, I still really like the way that this feels and looks. So yeah, and I like this colorway. So I'm definitely glad I picked this, especially for the one to start with. First time making it. I can definitely see myself making it in other colors though as well, even though I haven't even finished it yet. Anyway, so actually yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Probably just undo. Might just double check tomorrow, because I think it's pretty late now, so I should probably go to bed. But I think where I'm at, I'm going to undo this row that I just started, and then you connect, and then you do the hood part, and then obviously I should be able to connect and start the hood part with this part I'm going to undo, and then I'll connect a fresh ball of yarn. That'll be the 3rd one, and then I'll see how far that takes me.
Tomorrow.
Right guys, so it's the next evening, and I continued working on my hooded scarf. And I decided that I was happy with the size, and I've connected the 2 corners. So let me just remove the hook. We now have basically the scarf part is done, minus the fringe that I'm going to add, and it's this way actually. I've got to the point where I've now started the part that's going to start creating the hood. So obviously I made that single crochet row, prepped this section. So now I'm going to get into the pattern here. I've started the first row of where you then do double crochets, but in the different loops to create more of a textured look. So you have some of the rows here stand out, just like we do down on the bottom scarf part. It's really lovely kind of 3D effect. It is nice. So yeah, basically it's just getting into the rhythm of that repeat then. I think it's a 2 or 3 row repeat that you just keep going up until you have a long enough length that suits your needs, I guess. So obviously keep trying it on once you get to a certain point, and you can start to judge it and then kind of see where you like it sits and how it fits, and then I guess you can just stop whenever you want. So quite a bit left to go. So obviously it seems like it's going to be not as much as this scarf part, but because it's all the way around, so it's kind of double this size, quite a big surface area you have to make. So it is still quite a bit of work left, but I'm just gonna basically keep doing round after round, working upwards until I guess she does have, like I found, some measurements in here that she recommends, but of course it's all also depending on personal preference. So I'm just gonna kind of use these as a guideline and then also start to try it out once I get close to that point and see how I like it and how I feel like it sits on me, because obviously I'll be the one wearing it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say that I'm quite halfway, because it's hard to judge if the hood part actually has more surface area. I feel like it would have more surface area than the scarf part, because this is like a triangle. Yeah, it's quite a big triangle, but the hood part is basically, if you fold it out, instead of it being a cylinder, it'd be quite a big square / rectangle. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So it's just getting on with it, and this will probably take me a little bit continuing with this now, but I'm very much enjoying it anyway, so that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Enjoy the process, not just the final result. Hopefully both. I just finished off my third skein. This is what it's looking like. So making pretty good progress, I think. So obviously this up here is going to be the hood, and there's still a fair bit to go, but we're just doing the alternate in rows. We're still getting like a 3D effect. Quite like that. But obviously there's a bit to go with that. But like I said, I just finished off my third skein, I'm pretty sure. So pretty much reached the amount that I kind of thought I was going to use in total, but there's still a bit to go. So 1 to 2 more skeins, I'm thinking. Hopefully 1 would be nice, but I have a feeling I'll go into the second one at least. So yeah, I guess let's just try it on. So obviously this whole big triangle part is the front, so it's like a scarf area, and then this is supposed to eventually grow, become the hood, so you can use it as a hood or just have it slouched down around your neck. Now I was a little unsure with the pattern, because I felt like, I think I mentioned before, that it's lacking a little bit of information about why you're doing sometimes what you're doing, because if you say using different materials or something, you could kind of then figure out how to do it with the knowledge that it would give you of why you're doing something. Kind of felt like that's lacking, so it's a little bit hard to understand if I should do something or not. But I've ended up, basically when I did the row where I went all the way around the edges of double crochet rows from the scarf part, it was a bit vague in telling you how to kind of do that first round. So I ended up first of all doing it 2 single crochets in the side of every row, because obviously it's a side of double crochet rows. But something was just telling me I felt like that was wrong, because then I also didn't understand it then told you to do some increases in the row after, but then with the explanation of using, say, a finer yarn like this, it then told you not to do the increases. And I was like, why? I was confused with that. I don't understand why you wouldn't do the increases just using a thinner yarn, how that would have a different result. So that got me a little bit perplexed. But anyway, what I think I ended up understanding is that you kind of had to do 1 single crochet at the end of each row instead of 2. So it purposely would cinch it in around the neck, which is then what I ended up doing. So I undid the first thing and then redid it. So it cinched in around the neck, and then I also felt like the increases it told you to do wasn't that many, so it would have been enough. To me, if I had kept going with how it was cinched in, that size would be too tight around my head to be like a decent hood basically. So what I ended up doing was basically just adding in a bunch of increases into the couple of rows after that. For 3 to 4 rows after that, I just added increases in every 5th stitch more or less, until I felt like the size around kind of got to the point where I feel like it would be a good size hood. So that's what I ended up doing. So I do feel like it was a little bit lacking in the pattern, but it's still a good pattern. Just was a little confused with some of that. But anyway, that's where we're at. And I'm happy with how it's coming out so far. I do really like this colorway, I do like it. There's one color in it I'm a little bit, I wish it wasn't there, but otherwise I do really like it. And I really like how the yarn is coming out, just the drapiness, the feel of it. Definitely want to use this for a lot of other things, wearables and stuff. So yeah, we're making good progress. So I just got to get some more skeins. I do thankfully have some more. I'd like to think I have enough, but we'll see. I guess that makes me glad that I just started with this colour, because it is one that I could buy more of if I need to, not a limited edition one. So just gotta carry on crocheting, repeating these rows until basically it's long enough for what I feel like fits me.
Later.
Right, so it's later in the evening and I'm just about to go to bed basically. So I thought I'd just show you a couple of things before I do and bring up a couple of things. First of all, I want to just talk about the yarn, which I absolutely love it. I can't wait to use it for other things. But I do just have to mention that if it's showing up, it does leave some dye. That's that finger. Where you can clearly see where I hold my yarn. And honestly with this yarn, I'm not even holding it super tight with the grip or anything. It's just because obviously it's running across there, and also I've started kind of wrapping around my little finger as opposed to just having it between my fingers like I used to. Just gives a little bit more tension, but it's still not super tight, so just thought I'd bring that up. I don't personally have an issue with it. I'm sure it's gonna, if you wash it a couple of times, it would stop kind of excreting any dye, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention it. I also just wanted to bring something up with the pattern now that I'm basically right at the place where I'm going to be talking about, and thought I would just show you. So I'm not going to obviously show you like any details about the pattern because you'd have to buy it for that. It's not my pattern. But I thought I would just show you something that I'm doing in the pattern as a little change that I kind of just personally prefer. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about the hood part here, where we obviously have the seam where we start and finish every row and then move on to the next one. So you alternate between two different rows, and one of them is a double crochet row, and that's the one where I feel like you get these little gaps right next to where you start the row, because to create these kind of ridges or the 3D effect, you go into more of a back loop. And to me, because you start with a regular double crochet and then you go into the back loop, it just creates a little bit of a gap there, I find, right at the beginning. It really is not a big deal. It's just a little personal thing of mine. So I wanted to try and just change something to get rid of that gap after making majority of the hood, of course. That's when I thought about it. But anyway, so I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera, but I just feel it's a tiny little bit more of a gap right there than the rest. Obviously you have gaps between the stitches as the nature of double crochets particularly, but it's just a little bit extra of a gap there. Anyway, what I'm then doing is up here I've then started making the change where I feel like you can see you don't have that gap. So I'm pretty happy with that and wish I started doing it right from the beginning, but oh well. I'm not gonna undo all this just for that. It's not that big of a deal, like I said. Anyway, so the next row I'm gonna make is the double crochet row where we're also gonna make this next ridge, and I'm just gonna start out with a regular double crochet like I said, and that's, well, technically it's not a double crochet. I'm using also a standing single crochet, which is also different than the pattern, but that's just again personal preference. So I'm just gonna do that first. So standing single crochet in place of a double crochet, and obviously this is kind of just a regular one. Now you start to go into the loops on the back. Obviously there's more specified in the pattern for that, but instead of just going into the next stitch, so that would be this one here, not this first one that we basically just worked into where we started this row. It's the next one over, and you'd go into this back bump or loop, the third loop I think it's known as well, on the back side of it. And instead of going straight to that, what I find is actually helping is I don't want to go into the first stitch and just make a double crochet there and then continue, because it's going to make an increase for every row because we already made a stitch in that stitch there. But I will go into that first stitch in that back or third loop and then pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through two as if we're starting to finish off our double crochet, yarn over again and then go into the next one. Do the same thing and just start off the double crochet. So we're basically going to actually be doing a decrease, you could say. Yarn over and go through all of them, and then you get, I think, a much neater look without that little gap there. And of course then you would just carry on. But anyway, that is part of the main pattern. So just a regular double crochet there, but just that little difference at the beginning I think makes quite a nice difference. And I wish I did it all the way at the beginning, but anyway, you live and you learn, don't you? So I thought I'd just show you that in case you also have this pattern or maybe want to get it and it could be useful. Anyway, I'm going to see about going to bed now because it's late. Princess is having a whale of a time and I need to get to bed and try and get some sleep. So good night. Getting close though, not that far to go. Just a little bit on the hood and then of course all the fringe as well. Anyway, good night.
The next day.
Right guys, so we've made some pretty good progress. I used all the skeins of yarn that I brought out. So finished off that last one as well. And I'm almost there, I want to say. So, as you can see as well, quite a long length here of the hood part. So I guess let's just try it on. Making sure that it's all the way down in the neck. Now, I do feel like this, it would be fine. Like a nice little scarf. Oh, I put it on the wrong way. Wait a minute. There we go. I kind of keep having to remind myself that the triangle has to go to the front. It's kind of counterintuitive, but anyway. But then making sure that it's all the way down on the neck. And then I quite like it like this. But with the hood, I feel like it just maybe needs a couple more rows. I'm just that out of the way. So it's just a little bit back compared to what I want it to be. So I feel like just a couple more rows. Like I said, I just finished the last skein of yarn that I took out, but I have one left, which is good. Because also towards the end of these rows here, the past couple of rows, all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough yarn, because I've realised I also need yarn for the fringe, which I'm pretty sure we'll use a fair bit, because I guess it all depends how much fringe you want it to be, but I think I'll use a fair bit for the fringe as well. So I was like, oh shit, because I could see I was getting towards the end of that last skein. I was like, I do know I have one more of this colourway. So yeah, a bit overdramatic, but at the time I didn't remember that I had that extra skein. I was just thinking, oh no, this is what I had left. I should be alright with this, but I forgot about the fringe. And then also, I feel like it does just need a couple more rows up here to kind of be properly over the head face at the front up here mainly. But otherwise it is very, very close and I like it. I really like this colorway as well, and I really like the yarn working with that, so I'll definitely be using that for more projects, that's for sure. Both obviously the colorways I have, but I also want to get more. I have like I think 2 skeins or something of a purple colorway which is in the normal range, and I really wanted to use that for this, but I'm so glad I didn't, because that would not have been enough balls of yarn at all. because this is what, did I just finish the 5th? I want to say the 5th, but I actually think it's more like the 6th one. Not sure. It's 5 or 6 bowls I've used so far. I'm sure I can figure that out. I didn't save the little labels, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm sure I can kind of work it out looking back on the video here. But yeah, this is where we're at. So I need to just attach another skein just to get a few more rows around the hood part here. And then hope that I have enough left in that skein to also do all the fringe that I want, because I do think I want quite a bit of fringe here. I like the thought of that, and I feel like it suits the style quite well for this. So I guess we just gotta grab that skein and get cracking with the final bits. So let's make our way to where that last skein is, right there. Kind of gotten covered by the others. Surely not gonna need more than this, because then we have a problem, Houston. But anyway, yep, let's grab this so we can finish this thing off. And I'm also glad that I didn't use any of these other colorways, because, well, first of all, obviously I can always make it again and do it in a colorway like this, but also because these were limited edition, I don't know if they'll come back. I hope they will for next Halloween, and I definitely want to get more of these because they are beautiful. But also because using this for this hood now, I really want to make like a cardigan with this yarn, but just in a different colorway, and I kind of really want to make it in one of these, but I'm always going to need more yarn than for the hood here, and I do have more of these, but not loads more, so I'm pretty sure what I have would not be enough for a whole cardigan that I want to make. But like, it's a start, so hopefully if they come back this year, this next Halloween, then I can get more, and that would be enough. Kind of build up the little stash ready to make like a cardigan or something with one of these colorways, or more of them, multiples. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So yeah, let's grab this and crack on and get this thing finished, because I'm also excited about finishing this and then starting the next project. Get it in my little project bag, which I'm also so happy that I started using these, kind of discovered these, plus so freaking cute. Yeah, I can now go back downstairs and get this thing finished.
Following Thursday.
Okay guys, so I've actually finished the hood. Now it's not done, but it is technically wearable, because like I said, the hood is done and I've finished off all the ends. And I keep wanting to have the triangle be the top part, but obviously it's not. If I can work this out. So let me just try it on and get this off. I'm covered in hot water balls because I'm kind of cold, but let's just take that one off. I can try it on. So where we attach the two ends or corners of the triangle together, that's the back. So obviously the big triangle comes down the front. I keep having to like tell myself that, because instinctively you kind of want to go the other way. Anyway, let's get this on. So you can just use it as basically a scarf and keep it down around your neck, nice and soft, and it pretty much stays where it is because it's so much scrunched up, or because it's so long, can bring up the back and turn it into a hood, and as you can see, it's perfectly wearable. Now I do plan on adding fringing, which is what I have this left for. So this is the only yarn I have left in this colorway, so I'm hoping that's going to be enough. I'm pretty sure it will be, because sometimes, you know, I tend to over or underestimate, so plus you just never really know. I'm going to say I think it needs quite a bit on the fringing. Obviously you can do however much or little you want to, but I think I do want to kind of add quite a bit, basically like she shows in the tutorial. Quite like the way that looks, and just gives that little bit of extra something around the front. So yeah, let's hope this is enough, and it's the only thing left to do. I'm super close to finishing this now. I'm working on adding the fringe, and I've got a little bit ways in, and I just have to show you because I'm loving the way that it looks. Now, I did start out, I thought I'll just do one fringe first, just to kind of get a feel for if I like it, the length and the amount of it, and also how I want to attach it, and you know, which way the knot's going to go kind of thing. And I liked the length and how it looked, so I thought I'll just continue. And then I did think I'm just going to cut a bunch of lengths of the yarn, like in a batch, and then grab strands and add, kind of like do batch making kind of thing, as that would be a bit more efficient. So I kind of cut a bit of a batch of cords, and then I was like, wait a minute, this yarn is like variegated or ombre, whatever you want to call it. Then I started thinking, do I want to mix them up, so I purposely mix colors within each tassel, or do I want to keep it in the way that it's coming off of the ball to basically keep it ombre on the tassels as well, on the fringe? And then I thought, no, I want to keep it in that variegated colorway. So this is what it looks like, and I'm really loving how this looks with that ombre variegated color effect, because obviously that's naturally how the yarn is. So because of that, I decided to go back to just basically do one fringe at a time. Each one has 3, so I'm just cutting 3 lengths and then adding it to the next gap there, and then cut another 3 lengths adding that. I just feel like it was a bit too risky kind of cutting a whole batch of cords and then making sure I pick out the right colors, instead of just making sure the ball kind of takes care of it naturally for me. So I'm really happy with how this looks. I think it looks beautiful. I'm loving that graduation between the colors, and obviously I'm just going to continue all the way up. I just need to decide if I want to stop at some point, kind of where I get to the shoulder part. I'll go all the way to the back, and then obviously come down the other side as well. So yeah, just gotta crack on. Look how pretty. I finished it. So I have all the tassels along the bottom, which I absolutely love. I'm really glad that I ended up deciding on kind of sticking with the natural ombre of the yarn instead of mixing it up, because I really love the way this looks. I'll just try and show you. I just think it looks really pretty how it just follows that color change all the way along, and I can't stop doing this. Jiggle jiggle, this wiggle wiggle. Anyway, I love this. I'm so glad I added fringe. I'm really glad at the amount I did. I just followed what it said in the pattern. I think that worked really well. Loving the way it looks, and also I really think the fringe is going to add a lot to obviously when it's on. So let me just try it on. I actually don't think I have tried it on since adding the fringe. I think I said fringe, I meant fringe. But obviously, normally I would be wearing like a coat or something underneath this, so it would go on top of that. But this is basically it. And it goes pretty far down here. I really like the fringe added. Definitely glad I did that. It goes all the way actually out just over the shoulders. And then I did add in the pattern, she just kind of mentioned what she did herself. She stopped adding the fringe about the shoulder part or something like that. But I actually ended up doing it all the way around the back as well. I kind of just was in a zone and I kept going and didn't really think about it. But I was thinking I was going to do that, and I think I'm happy with that. What I will say, I realized along the way, I started originally down from the bottom point there and went up one side, and then went almost all the way to the back join where the points meet. And then, because I realized, well, I started at the front point, but I was then, by then, decided that I was going to just obviously carry on the natural graduation of the colors. So I realized, well, the color that I started with down here, it might not be the color that I'm going to end with, and then it might look a bit weird if I'm kind of got 2 separate colors joining that aren't really graduating naturally into each other. So I ended up, when I reached the point where I kind of got to the color that I started with on the yarn ball that I was using, I ended up switching to then start back here and then go up the other side to kind of try and make it look cohesive. So I feel like that's looking nice down there. Obviously the front is always more important. And that's where I then stopped on the back there on the one side, and then obviously from the bottom worked my way all the way up the other side here. And then what I realized I was doing, because there were 10-inch length of tassels that I've added, which I really like the length as well. When I kind of got further up, because what I did was basically do one tassel at a time, cut one tassel at a time, attached it, cut another tassel, attached it. Again, just to make sure I'm keeping the graduation color and not get them mixed up in any way. But what I was realizing towards getting up here, that all of a sudden I started to feel like they feel a bit shorter. And it's like along the way I must have gradually, because what I did was I used 3 lengths per tassel, but I cut 4, so I always had a spare one that I then cut the next tassel. I would cut 3 and then I had a spare one, always kind of keeping the most recent one for the next one and so on, to keep referencing the length instead of measuring every single time. But I realized I must have along the way kind of gradually shortened them a little bit, because all of a sudden I started feeling like this feels shorter to work with. I was like, all of a sudden, yeah, it looks quite a bit shorter as well. So it turns out along the back I was starting to make them kind of shorter, and I was like, oh shoot, have I fucked this up now? Because obviously I can't just go back and add length, or then I'll just use some other yarn, take them out and kind of bin them, because then I mess up the colour graduation. I was like, damn it. But then I started thinking, actually, because it happened to happen here where it started going across the back, so I was a bit like, hang on, technically it's done it by coincidence where it started going across the back there and continued quite a bit ways, actually I think past the point of where the two corners were connected, to almost the point where it was done, filling in the whole gap that was missing. That's not till that point I realised that it was happening, because then I started getting closer to the end where it stopped, that was longer, and I started seeing, hang on, something is not fitting right here, and I started getting a little bit, oh shit, what have I done, and how do I fix this? But then I started thinking, actually it's not so bad if it's a bit shorter on the back, because one, it's the back but two, I did already think a little bit how they would be on the back in the sense of getting tangled up, or how they would lay, or, you know, look as you're wearing it. And I thought, well, if it's a bit shorter, that maybe kind of fixes that issue a little bit, so there's less length to kind of get messed up, tangled up, look a little bit messy as you're wearing it. And maybe it's not a bad thing that they're actually a bit shorter across the back. So I ended up continuing, because I only literally had a few tassels left to fill in the gap by the time I realised. And then obviously the last one where I stopped previously, that was a bit too long then, so I just cut a little bit length of that to kind of make the graduation between the two less obvious and make them blend together. So that's basically the fix that I ended up doing, and I think that's worked out surprisingly well. So you can see that they do go a bit shorter, but I actually don't mind it at all. I think it might actually be quite a good thing. They're not as long and, like I said, get messy and tangled on the back, because obviously you can only really do so much as you're wearing it. So I think it's worked out for the better. Anyway, long story about the tassels. I finished it, and all ends are finished off and everything. The tassels are added and the hood works. So it looks like this. I'm really happy with the colorway. I'll definitely be using this again. By the way, making this project, I really fallen in love with this yarn. I love this yarn, and I want to, probably mentioned it a little bit, but I would just want to use it for other things. Like I said, pretty quickly into making this, I started thinking I want to use this yarn to make like a nice kind of lightweight cardigan. So that's definitely going to be on my list of projects I want to do in the near future. I just need the yarn first. So yeah, if it can pick up here, the sparkle is actually like a blue, and I really like that instead of just the basic obvious silver or gold or something. I'm really impressed, and I like the way that it feels. It's nice and soft. It's kind of lightweight, but still has kind of body to it. So I definitely am liking this yarn. I'm glad I have more of it, but I also want more. Anyway, enough blabble. Just look at this. I just love how this moves. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. Anyway, I'm happy with this, as you can probably tell. I'm very pleased, and I can definitely see myself making this specific scarf, hood scarf again with a different colorway at some point. Anyway, I have it. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna try and stop talking now. And I guess then also decide what my next project is going to be, which I actually think I already have. I think I know what I'm going to do for the next wearable crochet project. Of course, I'm going to take you along for that ride as well, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you want to see more. Check out what I've already done on this channel. I would like to post more where you follow along projects that I'm doing. Not just wearable stuff, also amigurumi and other things like that. And also tutorials I really want to be doing in the future. So please feel free to subscribe. Stay tuned for more content in the future. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Right, so I have finished, I'm pretty sure, my third skein of yarn, and this is what it's looking like. Fuck you! Silence! Okay. Anyway. Don't even think about it. I can hear you thinking about it. So I'm pretty sure I just finished off my third skein. This is what it's looking like. So I'm making pretty good progress, I think. So obviously this up here is going to be the hood, and there's still a fair bit to go, but we're just doing the alternate in rows. Fuck off! We're still getting that 3D effect. We're still getting like a 3D effect. I'm quite 2 single crochets inside of every row.